What's your pass mark for One Nation at this election?
Look, I think on the ground support is very strong, especially if we're looking at Rockhampton, Keppel, Cook, possibly Maryborough, and a couple of other seats. So the volunteers are saying to me that people are very receptive of One Nation. They're taking the how to vote cards. A lot of people are not even taking the how to vote cards. They're already prepared. They know which way they're going to vote. But I'm quietly confident.
Confident of what, though? Are we talking about more than one seat?
Yes, Stephen Andrews will actually hold Morani, I do believe that, but also I think that Labor are very concerned about losing Rockhampton and losing Keppel, and I think that we're in with a chance with Cook. So Labor won't hold government in their own right this time. They will have to rely on the minority parties to actually, it'll be a hung parliament. And that will be a good thing for Queenslanders because we don't have an upper house in Queensland. We need the other minor parties to hold them accountable. So it's going to be good for Queensland, good for our state.
The polling indicates that One Nation isn't going to perform as well. I know you've hit back at the polling, but we'll know soon enough. If you do slip well behind Katter's Australia Party, what does that mean? Are people in Queensland now listening to their voices more than yours, and why do you think that could be?
You know, Tom, this happens every election. They actually underestimate the support for One Nation. I've done it constantly before every election. This is the same thing. You know, we are actually getting strong support. If you look at what we pulled in the 2016 election, we actually increased our vote in the federal election and the last state election as well. So we are increasing our vote. We're getting more members elected to Parliament. We are representative of the people, and people are constantly coming up and saying to me, don't give up, keep going, you're a voice for us. That's what people want. They're sick of these corrupt, dishonest politicians, the same old rhetoric before an election, don't deliver. So it's about a voice for the people. That's what I represent, is that people feel forgotten. If you go north of the Sunshine Coast, you know, people in rural and regional Queensland feel they haven't been represented at all. It's all about the southeast corner. Well, it's about true representation of people in Queensland, and they're struggling. The tourism industry is struggling. The farmers are struggling. We've got the coal miners. We're not back in our coal industry, which brings a lot of revenue to the state. So small business, industries, manufacturing, it's all happening in Queensland. Water security. What has Labor really done for the people of the state? All she does is increase our public service, pays out $260 million in pay rises. That's not good enough, and it doesn't pass the pubs test with the majority of Queenslanders out there who cannot be taxed anymore.
So just on the aspect of, what has the Queensland government done? Do you give any credit for the fact that COVID, there hasn't been this outbreak? It's very hard to sort of say what the right action is at various times. We know Victoria mistakes were made and that hasn't happened in Queensland. Is there any credit there?
Tom, we have been propped up by the federal government to allow people to actually get paid from the federal government for JobKeeper and JobSeeker. How did she protect us? By she actually stopped those necessary operations. She stopped people from actually having the cancer treatment that they needed. They've been given a life sentence. She stopped people from seeing their loved ones. She stopped people from seeing those people who were in aged care homes. To say that she kept us safe, that's a load of rubbish. We've been lied to about the number of people who've died because of COVID. They died with COVID, not because of COVID. We have virtually destroyed our economy. People have not seen their loved ones. I can't see their families because they couldn't cross the borders. It has had an impact. We have mental illness, we have depression, we have higher suicides. And she saved us? No, she didn't. And the whole fact is she gets back in again and we have a COVID case again over the border. What, shut down a state again? How long do you honestly believe this can happen? It can't keep going on. So we have to look at the majority of the people and protect those people. You protect those people who are susceptible to possibly COVID will affect their health. I totally get that.
So just on COVID decisions,
don't shut down everyone.
Just on COVID decisions, so at the moment, when there is a state of emergency declared by the minister, at that point, the decision on things, including borders, is up to the Chief Health Officer. Should that change, do you think?
Anastasia Palaszczuk said all along it's up to the Chief Health Officer to actually keep the border shut. And then the Chief Health Officer, about a month ago, said it's okay to open the borders. We know how to control it. Anastasia Palaszczuk still decided a political decision to keep the border shut, regardless of the impact it was having on people. and on business.
Sorry, but what do you mean about the Chief Health Officer saying you can open the border? I mean, she's been alongside Anastasia Palaszczuk at plenty of news conferences. They don't seem to have contradicted each other at any time.
She said weeks ago the borders could be opened. We know how to deal with the COVID. Now, this has been a political ploy. It's been a political decision that's been made by Anastasia Palaszczuk. Now, I'm telling you, the impact, I listen to people on the ground. We haven't had any cases through rural and regional Queensland for months and months and months, and yet it's been shut down. So it has had an impact on these areas. And the fact is, people have to think, do we really want to give her another 4 years, and will this shut down our state again because a couple of cases may be detected? I don't think it's the right thing to do.
You mentioned people that weren't getting support. Obviously, tourism is struggling. We'll hope the borders are open soon. But coal workers, I mean, what more support do you mean by coal workers? What are they struggling for at the moment?
Well, coal mines, because Labor was totally against Adani mining. You've got other coal mines that want to open up. You know, the restrictions they're putting on and what they've done now, they've passed another bit of legislation that is going to force these mines to put up huge amounts of money. But that's not even the mines, it's also the farming sector. So what they're going to expect these farmers to put up, you know, a huge deposit so that if the land's left fallow, and they don't work the land, they're going to have to rehabilitate the land. You know, they're destroying the farming sector. They haven't put in water security. I've got the cane growers. They're actually
but just on miners, I mean,
water security,
you mentioned
so
Adani. That's got all the green lights now, right? And they've even given them a royalties holiday. So there's no issue with Adani and that going ahead now.
Tom, how long did that go? Still the signs are going up today about Adani. You know, they're not progressive in their views that we need to produce the coal because it gives so much revenue to the state. And that is important. It keeps the state going. It pays for our services. You know, what has the Labor government done with nurses and charging them up to $12,000 a year in fees and costs to go and do their training in the hospitals? You've got rural and regional areas that can't get nurses and they can't get doctors. This has not been addressed properly. We've got hospitals that a doctor I spoke to from the Gold Coast Hospital said one bed takes 9 administrators. 9 administration to 1 bed. It is top heavy. It's about time we actually handed over the funding to the hospitals to run their own boards, not the bureaucrats and not the governments. So there are things that need to be done, Tom, if we want to get the state up and running again.
We'll see what happens tonight. You say the polls are wrong, and we will find out later on tonight exactly what happened. Just a couple of quick issues. You backed Australia Post being able to prioritise parcels over letters. Now, there was a tour and an explanation you had from the CEO, Christine Holgate. She's under fire now over bonuses given to board members. What have you made between the stoush that's happening between her and the Prime Minister at the moment?
What she did in giving the bonuses, to me, doesn't pass the pub test. And I think, you know, one of the board members, he got $413,000 in bonuses to get a watch on top of that. I'm sorry, it doesn't pass the pub test. What I'm annoyed about with Morrison is he allowed the previous CEO to get $5.6 million in pay. Nothing was said about it. He only lost that job and the pay decreased because of myself and my complaining about it. So what is he whinging now about $20,000 when it's all right for the previous CEO to get paid $5.6 million plus a $10 million payout when he resigned? So that doesn't pass the pub test with me.
So there's the pub test, but it's a pretty small amount. I mean, people have pointed out in big companies, $20,000 in bonuses. I get the optics of it, but $20,000 in bonuses for a huge contract being won isn't that much money. Do you think Christine Holgate should keep her job?
These people get paid very good money. You've got a director on the board getting $1.24 million with bonuses, all right? $413,000 in bonuses. This is what I said about these bureaucrats and these people in these positions are paid huge amounts of money.
Do you think this is the sort of thing that should cost her a job?
That should actually be reined in. That's not up to me to make that decision whether she should lose a job. I think she's been doing a very good job as CEO and I back her all the way, as does her employees, and they stand by her. What I'm saying is it doesn't pass the pub test about the $20,000 paid out, especially when these people have already received huge amounts in bonuses. But I think she does a very good job as CEO and I back her all the way.
What? One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, I know you'll be on our coverage tonight. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tom.